to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And David, would you offer?
Heavenly Father, we come to you today just asking that you watch over this commission, watch over this county, help us to make good decisions according to your will, and be with all our employees as they go about their work through this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. I reviewed the minutes from last week and make a motion that we approve them.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
We also need to reschedule next week's meeting due to the Columbus Day holiday.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we reschedule next week's meeting from the 11th to the 12th, right?
Yes.
At the same time,
Yes.
same place. That's my motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Bills.
Put your counts, those are the meal counts. Pleasanton includes Lacine and Linn Valley and Tanglewood's meal delivery.
I've looked over the bills and I make a motion that we approve the bills in the amount of $260,135.04.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
I don't see Sheriff here at the moment anyway, but I do have a copy of his report. If you guys want to take a look at that.
$25 prisoners in, 19, total prisoners in, 19, 16, 6 are farmed out. And you want the rest, I guess you can get a copy of this, but 1,730 jail contacts and 476 calls for service. Anything else?
Well, if you want to go on with these, I have an agreement with the Southeast Kansas Regional Planning Commission for them to administer the ARPA funds, which is what Jessica had talked about a month or so ago. But we do have the agreement here now, and Jessica wasn't able to be here today, so she sent it with me, and she was just wanting approval on that and have you sign on.
Have you looked at them?
It's
Standard?
boilerplate, they're all the same. Yeah, it's something you need to do, move forward with the grant.
So I think we just need a motion to approve the administrative services.
You remember what-
agreement.
Can you go over what they were
What's the amount of?
so they'll know?
It's the ARPA funds.
Yeah, we actually received the first payment the other day, it was $942,374, and we're due to receive that amount again next year. So total is $1,884,694, and they manage this for a 5% of the total, which is $94,235, and we pay that over a 5-year period, so it's split into 5 payments.
So I don't know whether you have any questions for me on it.
And what is this used for?
This is, well, a lot of, but it's more of the funding through the federal government because of COVID.
You remember that big $2 trillion stimulus that the government passed back in spring? That's what this is.
Yeah.
It's our piece of that.
And I know there had been like some water districts I know had talked to Jessica, and you can do things for businesses with it.
This is the one where she was giving grants and stuff as well.
Well, that was some other funding. That one I think was over on her original grant. This is a new one that we're just starting into. There's been a lot of stuff I've seen counties around the state talking about. I mean, all the way from, helping out local businesses to some of them are giving bonuses to employees. I mean, there's
You
just,
can do infrastructure with it.
Yeah,
Can we do internet stuff with it?
Yep.
yes. And that's one of the things I think they already talked to her about too. So, but if you're ready to approve that, there's two copies here, and there's a spot for the chair to sign on each one, and then for me to attest the signature.
You want to look it over for a while?
No, okay.
Are you Garrett? You good?
I guess.
We basically, I think, already, what this is doing is coordinating with the Southeast Kansas, what do they call that?
Southeast Kansas Regional Planning.
Wow, cow recovery.
For them to manage.
This,
Leave
is,
it alone.
for me, will be a lot better than what we did last year with the Spark funds. Because
It'll happen to me too.
And it was a nightmare.
All right, so you need a motion for the chair to sign this?
Yes.
All right, somebody make a motion. I can't make a motion myself. It's on my own phone.
That's my motion. Sign this grant agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Bill, while I figure out what to sign, come on up and give your statement.
Update on the construction process is not a whole lot different from last week, just progression, really. The mason's really about to wind up all interior walls. We've got a few, but not many left. They're all non-load bearing. He's gonna move outside this week. We're gonna try and work around, finish the west and around the north, get the brick completed around there so we can start with site work. We want to try and finish that detention pond and all the paving and the sidewalk and everything on the north side. It's really tight right now, so that's one area we think we can free up to do that work. Far as the roof concerned, it is stocked. Roofer was due to start Thursday and Friday with the intermittent rain. It's hard to put the ISO down, and you don't want water under that. So he should be here today. Hopefully we get a good week this week. If he does, it's going to put a big dent in the remainder of the roof that's up there. Next couple of weeks, we should be in the dry. So we did start the EFIS system on the outside on the south. You can see Bricklayer's also putting up his wire and his base coat for the stonework. We're pushing hard. We do have gas into the building now. We're due to set the the permanent transformer this week. So we're working for permanent power. Those two things will give me what we need for temporary heat through the winter. So we're just continuing on. So.
Okay, so we're scheduled to go see you on the 12th. Thanks for doing that kind of walkthrough with Coffee County and
Sure.
its commissioner and attorney and some other people came down, so appreciate that. I think it went well. I don't know how much they got out of it or
I
don't
mean, we
know.
tried to answer all their
how it
questions.
helped them, but
Are they using you guys too, River City?
Oh, I don't know.
no, they don't know yet.
They're just kind of checking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's the next time you need an answer from us on something?
I'm not aware of anything. Warren, I don't know if Warren's got it.
Monthly owners contracting meeting this Wednesday.
Okay.
I'll be there. That's what usually brings up stuff.
Right. If Warren's got anything.
Brings up the bad news.
I'm not aware of anything. I think we're flowing right along right now.
I think the next thing probably we getting this storage building down.
Right.
Right.
Because they want to pour all this concrete before it gets cold, and that ain't gonna be too much longer.
Right. We're going to get our guys out of there before your contractor gets here. So,
Okay.
but, yeah.
I appreciate it. You got anything?
No.
Thank you.
All right. No problem.
I do know we've had at least a couple of people inquire about the storage building, so direct
Oh, really?
Sean to see if we can get some bids on it.
Okay.
Did we advertise it like?
Sean's taking care of that. I'm not sure where I put it, but
Doug?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Fire calls for the past week, we had a total of 5. We're up 346 year to date. Last week's calls, we had 4 motor vehicle accidents and 1 trash or rubbish fire. That's all I have for you unless you have something for me this morning.
anything?
I don't have anything.
Where are we, and I was gone with COVID, I know that you guys have talked about it a little bit. Where are we at on those painting bids? What's the status on those? Where are we at? What are we doing?
I sent you an email with the document we sent out for the revised bid. Those have been sent out to the contractors that we had that had bid last time. Of course, I told you if you knew of anybody, go ahead and send it out to anybody you know. I've not had, we advertised it in the newspaper as required. I've not had anybody contact me directly asking for a copy of the bid. And if I remember correctly, they're due in this Friday by 3 p.m. and we will have them here for you to open next Monday. Tuesday, I'm sorry.
Well, we call RFIs, but do you, I mean, have you had any questions? Nobody's reached out to you about any questions on it?
No, nobody's asking any questions. I've not had any contact.
We just changed the kind of paint we're using, right?
That is correct. And the color. It was suggested we go with a light gray as opposed to the dark red because it will last longer.
Did you stay with 3 coats or with 2 coats?
No, 2 coats.
Okay.
1 primer, 1 base coat as requested, and it's a Surecryl. I assume that's an acrylic latex. I'm not totally certain, but that's what I know. I did put in there, I did not catch that Monday would be a holiday, so I put in the document that they would be opened on Monday. I assume that won't create a problem?
Nope.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, Doug.
thank you.
AMR?
Good morning, Galen Anderson with AMR. And I'm going to hand out our monthly reporting for the month of September and go over that. All right, so for the whole month of September, we had a total of 127 calls for service and a total of 76 transports. And I'll just go over the cities that they fell into. We had 8 requests out of Blue Mound with 3 transports, 6 requests out of Centerville with 5 transports, 2 requests out of what landed as a Fulton address, 0 transports there. 28 requests out of Lacine with 18 transports. 10 requests out of Linn Valley with 5 transports. 32 requests out of Mound City with 18 transports. 4 requests out of Parker with 3 transports. 35 requests out of Pleasanton with 24 transports. And 1 request with no transport out of Prescott. And then 1 request that didn't have a city address associated. And then the breakdown by district, we had 48 requests out of District 1 with 31 transports. And the breakdown for the average response time for District 1 was 11 minutes and 36 seconds. And then for District 2, we had 43 requests and 26 transports, and the average response time came out to 9 minutes, 13 seconds for District 2. And then District 3 had a bit of a busy month compared to normal with 42 requests and 19 transports. And the average response time in District 3 was 17 minutes and 6 seconds. And just to review, as I sometimes do for the response times for District 3, any response to District 3 gets, each response gets 2 calls associated with it. So the supervisor who responds and is almost always the first on scene gets their own response time, which may be 10 minutes, for instance. And then a transporting ambulance from Station 1 or Station 2, which is Lacine and Pleasanton, they also respond and get a response time linked to their response, and then those, which may be 20 minutes. And then those 2 responses average out to say 15 minutes for those examples. So that's why response times for District 3 look higher, but in reality, we have a paramedic supervisor that's the first on scene, providing all the same medical care that our ambulances provide, with a much shorter response time than what the average looks like. So all told, we had 133 responses that fell into these 3 districts, 76 transports. Our average response time for the month of September for the whole county was 12 minutes, 31 seconds. We were scheduled to have 1,440 ambulance unit hours in service for the month. We ended up with 1,444, so 4 extra unit hours. So we were staffed a little over 100% of what we were scheduled to be. Let's see. And then our last data was how many patients that we flew out by helicopter. In the month of September, there were 6 patients flown out by helicopter. And then the categories that those landed in is 2 were thrown out for stroke or suspected stroke or significant neurological problems. 1 was flown out for a cardiac, which was a suspected heart attack. And then 2 were for significant traumas, and I believe both those were motor vehicle collisions on the highway. And then 1 was for a significant respiratory, fell into a category we call respiratory arrest, that basically they needed a lot of help to manage their airway and respiratory status. So that's the breakdown for the month of September. Any questions on that?
I don't know any.
All right.
Nope.
So far, for just as far as we are into October, we're sitting at 4 transports. And I do have some good news on the supervisor vehicle. The shop that it's at, to get all the final customizations done on it, made a little more progress than I was planning on based on their last update. But they're actually looking at dates to ship it out in the next week or 2. So it'll go to our Kansas City operation, where we'll get the equipment for internet and radios installed in it, and the licensing and the logistic final things that have to happen before it comes down in service, and then it'll come down here and go in service. So that may be looking about a month from now when it actually hits the streets. So that's coming along.
Go to Centerville, right?
What's that?
Go to Centerville.
Yep, it'll be in Centerville. Yep, and essentially all the equipment from the ambulance that's in there will be converted into jump bags and to be able to be housed in that SUV. And and the gurney as well. So the ambulance gurney will actually be able to be loaded and secured in the back of it in case we need it for accessing a patient and getting him out of a lake community or out of a field or whatnot. So it'll be a nice unit. So we'll definitely have it come over here for you guys to take a look at. And we can't let anyone drive it, but you can look at it and touch it.
I know that you guys or I think that you guys made it over to that rodeo there in Pleasanton over the weekend, or there was an ambulance there maybe. So when I talked to Chamber about that, they asked me about it, and I said, well, you have to talk to you guys, and she ended up getting sick, and then another lady reached out to me at the very end, and I dropped the ball and forgot to get a hold of you, but it sounded like you guys even made it out there, so
Yeah.
I don't know how all that works. I told them I just had them get a hold of you, but
Yeah, it kind of came in as a last minute request. We weren't aware of it ahead of time. And so we sent an on-duty ambulance to go post there. Since with the timing, we weren't able to put an extra crew in service and work out that.
how's that? Is that just kind of like a volunteer thing that you guys?
So basically
how's
for that ambulance, instead of being at their station, then they basically went out and posted in that area for
And
that.
if something happens, and they can leave from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So they stayed in service. And so we call it a non-dedicated standby, which basically means, which is kind of what we did like for the organized event or organized protest at the courthouse. We just had one of the on-duty units come over and and be in the area for it, and they stayed in service. So if a 911 call dropped in that area, they still would have been dispatched and would have left the event to go handle it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys going out there. I know they had reached out to me a few times, and I said, well, I thought so-and-so was taking care of it, and I guess she had gotten sick. So.
Sure, yeah. And then some events require an ambulance on site, and the event coordinators would know that. And then ideally, they'd work with us ahead of time to arrange to have an extra ambulance put in service and go out and staff the event. And we call that a dedicated standby, where they're there at the event and they wouldn't be pulled for.
If somebody asked me about that again, do I have them call you, or do I have them go to Pleasant Barn, or I mean, how's that work?
Yeah, if there's any needs for a standby request, you can put them in touch with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I was in the process of giving your email out, and then I just went on and did something else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
Yep, you bet. Have a good week.
thank you.
Give you some meal counts from our county up till July. And so I wanted to go over that with you. Blue Mound's had 192 congregate meals and 25 home deliveries. Centerville, this is for the month of July. They don't have the data all the way up till for August and September yet. Centerville had 185 meals, no home deliveries. Mound City had 182 meals, 182 congregate meals, 129 home deliveries. Parker had 113 congregate meals, 42 home deliveries, and Pleasanton had 180 congregate meals and 1,006 home deliveries, but that includes Lacine, Tanglewood, and Linn Valley as well. And because Lacine doesn't have a congregate site, because they have a library that has a program that feeds about 125 people 3 days a week, and then they do home deliveries as well. And that's ran by a group of people up there that just do their own thing. So that averages out congregate meals between 7 and 10 people a day eat there at any of those sites. So that's how many congregate meals are served in your senior centers around the county, with none being in Linn Valley, none being in Lacine. And again, Lacine, Linn Valley, and Tanglewood, they can all go to the Lacine Library, and they have a separate program. It's not funded by the library, but certainly that's where they eat at and have their own senior get together there. All right. So I want to give you those numbers. It's still going strong. Anybody got any questions on the senior center at all?
I guess we can talk about the site if you guys want to, about Pleasanton. Teresa Whitaker, she'd reach out to me, and I went to their city council, and they talked about, doing the $400 a month for the first year. And then if it was, then we would assess it after the first year and pay whatever the electrical was. That was kind of the first deal we'd come up with. But then she had sent me a message. Let me read it real quick. Something about, give me 1 second. I'll just read what she told me. I want to talk to you about the community center. I talked to Evergy about installing a second meter in there for the back room. They say that they could definitely do that if we made sure it was $220. If the senior center ever needs to move, the cost to use the facility would be cut and dry. The county would be responsible for the utilities on the meter only.
So what are you telling us?
We got every damn detail we need. Let's make a decision about it, what we're going to do on it. I mean, are we going to go to the community center, or are we going to go to the...
So was she implying that the meter costs to use the community center other than paying the utility bill?
That's kind of what the $400, when I talked to them at their city council meeting, that they don't, they can't afford to, pay out of pocket for it. And I understand that. So they thought there was going to be around like $400 a month for like electrical and stuff, but they didn't really know. They kind of doing that assessment off of what it ran the sheriff's department on the bike rally deal that they had in Pleasanton. But I think they used it 10, 12 hours a day for a week or something maybe. But, so that's kind of how they assess that and we got to that number. And then, if we all thought it was high or low or whatever, we were going to talk about it again in a year after and do a year to year. Something like that.
Meet separately, that would be
Yeah.
necessary.
Right.
So the question is, do they want anything over and above?
I don't think so. I just don't think they want to have to pay out of pocket. I don't think they want to try to be fair as they can with us, and they just don't want to have to be anything out of pocket. Cause I don't think they can afford to.
We do our own cleaning in the area that we use.
And we would share a bathroom, and I think that would, we kind of talked about that, and I think she said the 400 would include that too. So if we did go with a separate meter, I mean, there were little details we'd have to talk about, but.
So is the meter, we're paying that bill?
That was just something that she had talked to Evergy about, and that we can do it that way if that's what we want to do, or we can stick with the 400 a month.
Yeah, they would meter that back room and we pay that bill. That's what.
Yeah.
So on average, right now, Pleasanton's having 8 people a day eat there.
And it costs us what, roughly? Well, I can't remember, $7,900 a year. Well, it cost us more this year because we had to buy another AC unit, condenser on the outside. I just feel like if we keep pushing down the road, that we're going to continue to have problems with that building because we're kind of confined to one space in it. And that's more of a Sean question because he dealt with the HVAC on it, so he could probably tell us a little more. So.
Okay. Well, why don't we just kick it around when Sean gets in here then too. Hey, talked to Prairie View's superintendent at the football game on Friday, and I think he's going to get with each one of you as well. Their board has tabled it for the reason of they'd like to see us come up with some type of a contract to present to them, and they'd like to work with you on a contract in order to pay some of these funds for SROs.
I wonder, the only reason we even talked about cars was because.
I know. That's what I explained it to them.
So are they behind that now?
Yeah, they're over.
Okay.
They're over. And I think if we have a contract,
So are we just looking for options for help, or I mean, are we stuck in the cars, or what?
No, I think
we just go by amount.
we
right?
just say that we want this much per year per office.
Right.
I talked to our Jayhawks superintendent, and after I explained it to him, he's willing to work with us. I mean, he said he had to talk to his board, but he almost counting in.
Okay.
They're open to help us with it. I don't know exactly, like I said, he'd have to talk to his board, but.
I'll prepare a contract that,
And just get a draft and let's get it around to see who will agree with what. They just talked about how they'd like to pay it over a certain amount of years. So,
I think we just had so much a year.
yeah.
Well, we had the 36,000 or broke down to 12,000 a year, and I told him I thought we was fine with the 12,000 a year if it,
Per office.
Yeah.
if our board was
But
good.
each of them have probably got something they'd like to see in the contract, I'm sure. So we can try to work with them. I think they will.
Like a
Sounds like they
certain
will,
year contract,
I think so too.
which is
do
a
a
win.
certain number of year contract, not have an open-ended contract.
We probably review it, what do you think, 6 years or something like that?
I think that's a little long, personally, in my opinion, but
Why couldn't we go the 3 years like we talked about? I mean,
With what, I mean,
the contract, if we set it up for the.
because then they may change their mind in 3 years, a different board. Well, I'd say we do the ambulance for 5 years. Why wouldn't we do, this thing ain't gonna go away.
you'd be losing the power plant and over here begging me for money. It might just. But that was a joke.
Well, that's one of the things we can negotiate with.
Yeah. We'll be all working at Fabcom, won't we?
Your district.
Write that down. All right, I guess we need Sean if we're going to keep this program going.
He was asking about this other day. I sent that to him.
Who's that from? Oh. Oh, okay.
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. I believe Jessica talked to Gary about the propane contracts
Yes.
and that we were okay the way she did that to go ahead.
She contacted all the suppliers that supply in Linn County and invited them to make a bid. And so I told her, since she reached everybody who's a potential supplier, there was no need to have.
Okay.
They all were invited to bid.
Okay.
We'd like to accept a bid or a contract from 10/1/21 to 9/30/22 from MFA for $1.55 a gallon.
What were the other bids?
I do not have the bid sheets in front of me. She was not here this morning, but that was the lowest bid.
Did we deal with them last year?
Yes, I believe so.
And we are not leasing any tanks now, are we? Don't we own all of our own tanks, or do you know?
I cannot answer that.
That was an issue before.
Yeah, that was the thing. We had to switch out. It was a kind of a cluster there for a while. Okay. What's the amount?
$1.55 a gallon.
How many gallons we buying?
The original contracts for the first 10,000 gallons.
Okay.
And that's the same as we've done in years past, from what I can tell from the
Right.
records.
You got any discussion on that?
And it's the same company we used last year, you said? Yeah?
Yes, I believe it's the same company that we had a contract with last.
Make sure you get those copies of those other bidders and keep on file. In
Yeah.
case somebody complains that, and not complains, maybe somebody didn't get notified.
So when they fill those tanks, do they go inside and check pilots and stuff like that, or no?
No, not to my
Nothing like
understanding.
that? No
No,
leak test or anything?
no.
The only time they have to do that is if it's run empty.
Oh, okay.
Do a leak test if the tank's empty.
Do we have any kind of maintenance that we have our guys go around and do that?
Leak checking?
Or just when you turn it on for winter, I mean, do we have anything like that that we check? Any kind of system or anything?
I would have to talk to Rick, but I'd have to assume when he lights all the pilots or when he goes back and we open up for the winter season, that we would replace any thermocouples or anything that we identified at that time, but I don't know that there's a leak check
I know that
on
we had
each
talked about
system.
whenever the mill site in Pleasant went down that, doing some kind of like maintenance contract or something like once a year or something. Do you recall that? Was that, I think that was you.
On the heat and air
Like,
units,
yeah, just like the HVAC and stuff like that. And like,
I remember discussion of it, yes, about having someone look at those and putting that on a contract for the heat and air units for the year so that they're serviced above and beyond the filter changes.
right. We haven't got anywhere on that. I mean, we just kind of just talked about, we haven't.
We discussed it, but I haven't gone out
What do
and
you guys
looked
think
at
about
that.
Having somebody come in, just check the HVAC, hot water tanks, making sure that,
We have two maintenance guys. Right? That's what we hired them for, Danny and Rick.
yeah, but I'm talking about up a little bit above and beyond just a filter like he had said.
You're wanting them to come in and service them every
No,
year?
just make sure that we're not, make sure we're getting full use out of them. Because that's kind of what happened there at the Pleasanton one is, there's just wiring showing everywhere. Isn't that what happened to that one? It just kind of went out. Took us about 3 hours to figure out what went to what. And
There was several issues there to include, some of the maintenance that we can't do would be checking freon levels and other things of that nature that a service tech would have to do each year. And the primary issue with the unit itself was the yearly servicing or cleaning of the coil systems and things of that nature that, you got to pull the top off the unit. And
do we do all that?
to my knowledge, only when it becomes an issue.
What's your thoughts on all that?
Get into a service agreement, you're gonna talk a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of units too.
Okay. So anyway, let's go back to what we've gotta make a motion to, enter into this contract with MFA for purchasing up to 10,000, first 10,000 gallons at $1.
55.
That's my motion, that we enter into that contract. We do every year with somebody. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Now back to his, we don't want a service agreement, you want a service agreement?
We either get a service agreement or we tell our maintenance guys like, hey, this is what we expect of you and this is the list of things you need to do. I feel like that we're not.
I could get a list of the equipment and then look into an agreement rather than put it out to bid to find out what that type of agreement, what it would cost us. Without putting it out to bid, I could look at pricing and see what that type of agreement would cost and bring it back to us.
That work for you?
I just want to address it and see what.
And I could bring back the other issues of the maintenance and what's done and why it's not done, or what.
Can you find out why our guys can't do it? They just,
I can get the answers to bring back whether it's feasible, the cost, and
because I can see
what's done.
making sure when we, once a year, maybe check on them, but, going into a big multi-year service contract.
I think it'd be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that we need to.
Just look into it as of now. Just look into seeing what Rick can do maintenance wise and what Danny can do maintenance wise. And then find out if there's any additional things they could do.
Other
Yeah.
primary maintenance that might
Danny
be
wants,
available.
would like to know if, exactly what would you want to know?
That we're not trying to run.
No, but maintenance.
Whatever they can do. I mean, whatever Rick feels comfortable with. He's not an HVAC guy. I mean, he can do a filter. I mean, but what beyond that does he feel comfortable doing? I mean, we're just pretty much letting units run out there until they
Die.
go to shit.
Till they die.
And then we spend $4,000 on a new one, and I think that's ridiculous.
I think a couple of the units over there suffered from lack of servicing it, and whether that was
Come back with your solution to that.
okay. That I know of, I had checked with a few people. The road closures over for the Pleasanton days went well. I do have another request, and apparently this is a kind of ongoing for cross country on October 7th. They're requesting Scott Road be closed for a period of time for the cross country runners between what they call Lake Road or 1050 on Scott to 1000 Road. And that's, I guess, something that we do periodically. But I did bring it to you this time because I hadn't had the request before. And it wouldn't be shut down all day. It would be something, we'd set the signs in the ditch during the event, they'd set them out and then throw them back to the side of the road for us to collect.
I have a problem. You have
I
a
don't have a
problem?
problem.
You have a problem with it?
Car wash, obviously down. We do have a little bit of cleanup on the concrete edges and things to do. And then some plates we're looking at what to cover those drain areas with before we just walk away from it so that no one gets injured or vehicles get damaged in that area.
Do we have some big old like road plates that we can just throw over it?
That's what Harry was looking to identify, if we had any in the county that we could cover those drains with and still leave the plates, because of the sloping of the concrete, would still leave access for the water to run out. But we do need to cover those rather than just leave them.
That's going to get covered with concrete, right?
Eventually, yeah.
So we'll leave it in their hands to do all the backfilling.
Well, we need to talk with them and see.
Was that involved in the concrete? I thought it just went to the edge of the building.
Well, it goes a little past the edge of that storage building, which took in, I think, a couple feet of where the car wash was. I believe that's how.
Can you discuss that in your Wednesday meeting?
We will.
Okay, the storage buildings have been moved around with the exception of IT. That's the only thing we have left to clean out of this back building. Talked to River City about their contractors using the other side. They're well aware that they're going to have to be moved out by the end of the week. During that process, there was an item that we disposed of improperly as far as something that was
You thought it was
moved
scrap.
around and thought it was scrap, and it was mistakenly disposed of, but I'll let the department head speak to that. I did make contact with Shay about the recycle trailers and spoke to her, and my next contact is the state to finish off your request to resolve the grant with them. My understanding is crack seal, we're spraying today, and then we will temporarily, for the purpose of crack sealing the runway, close things down tomorrow for 24 hours. It doesn't need that long, but in an abundance of caution, we'll put out a NOTAM and allow the airmen to be notified that the runway will be closed for 24 hours. Overnight, the crack seal will set up, and then we shouldn't have any issues with any planes drawing any of that fresh crack seal up on their tires or any damage claims. The park, the dock's being completed. Currently, the manager will be here in December to do a report on the things that they've been doing out there and for the new fee schedule for the next year. Spoke with Johnny Taylor this morning, and he'll be back here shortly to meet with you. He'll be our new noxious weed director.
Today?
Yes, he will be back here shortly to meet with you. I'm going to have him here about 10:45. He's currently looking at the building, the equipment, and he's been provided the information he needs for his testing. One of the concerns with the building out back was the Wi-Fi between that. Chris is already on that as far as keeping River City connected once that storage building has been taken out of the way, because there is apparently a Wi-Fi run between us, and that's the bridge to it. I met with maintenance at Lacine this morning. They're starting the taping and masking process, and I also looked, we're about 90% done. They should be completed on the outside siding this morning, and the inside of the ambulance barn itself has been metal sided so that they can wash out the vehicles without damage to the walls. They also advised me that I believe it's at the end of this week that the garage door should be in, and then they're doing some small aesthetic stuff around the building and a concrete apron in front of the barn. So that project's coming along rapidly and well. We should have a conclusion, or at least a date sometime next week to bring to you.
As far as on the inside, is everything that we have to do in-house? I mean, is there,
We are painting the inside. They're doing some touch up on texturing on walls today as we're doing masking. And then after it dries, then Danny's going to start the primer and then the paint.
how long will that take them to do it? Do you know?
I do not know. Kind of
Yeah.
a lot of it will determine how long it takes. There's a lot of masking and taping to do in the building. And I couldn't answer, I would have to assume a few days to maybe even 3.5, depending on how many times he has to
We're not-
switch out paints.
Or anything?
I couldn't imagine it being any more than, 3 to 4 days at tops, but that's my perspective of it without a solid answer from Danny. I do know he's priming and painting so that we get a good coat on it and the finish sticks to the new texturing that's on the walls.
Anything? What else you got?
Other than that, I believe that was everything I had for you this morning. Mainly the last week or so, I've been working on evaluations. So
About the engineers looking at these bridges, we talked about it 2 or 3 weeks, several weeks ago.
You put out a request for qualifications.
yes,
Where are we at on that?
I have not got any back yet. I'll have to check the timeline. I don't believe it's due yet
Okay.
for the bids to come back yet, but I haven't had any finished. I do know that several are interested and intend on placing bids in. I have talked to several, but we haven't got that completed yet.
So we were just talking about the meal site possibly moving in Pleasanton. And I said, we'll wait till him because what was the,
Oh, we had talked about, was it you or Doug? Oh, Doug's not here anymore. I can't remember who we asked to lay out in the back of the health department.
I have all of the stuff that was drawn out for that. My next step is to try to get a contractor over there to tell me what the cost estimate of that would be.
You know, for an average of 8 to 10 people, do we have a room over there we could use now in the health department?
well, we can stay where we're at for now. And this is the thing, I just don't understand why it's mostly their people anyway, and you're only serving 8 people. Why wouldn't you just open the room and let them use it? I mean, what's the $3,600 a year for? So,
Well, that's why I think they were backing off that. I think she was saying if we just pay the electricity bill for that one room.
Yeah, and I can ask her those details.
I mean,
We're already paying an electric bill at the health department, right?
yeah. The only thing there would be just, getting them a corner or whatever and putting some tables in there.
Yeah, we're also spending $10,000 on upkeep on the building that we're currently in.
Yeah, and the whole thing, just get rid of that thing
And
as soon as possible.
I wish Doug was still here because he could answer this. I mean, you've been back there. I don't know. Have you guys both been back there to look
Where?
at all the storage stuff in the back of the
Yeah,
building?
sure.
So he's gonna push them over to a corner or what?
I don't know what we're gonna do yet because
We've got
we got
the sheriff building over here. Why couldn't we use
Yeah.
it for something? I mean, that's why tear it
No,
down.
no.
Yeah, but these are
because
the elderly. They
the
can't.
whole purpose of
drive
it was
over.
all moldy and everything else.
We're talking about the elderly.
But the
They're-
lawyers building,
I just
we
want to make
can't
a
use it over
decision on it.
here because we already have one. Me in Pleasanton.
No, I'm saying for
Yes,
he's saying the EOC.
It's a damn ridiculous.
Oh.
Let's make a decision. That's what I want to do.
I'm saying the
Do it or
storage
not?
is what I'm talking about.
What's that, Danny? I'm sorry. We're numb. We're numb to the $400 a month.
Did you say dumb or not?
Numb.
Oh.
Numb.
I think I'd say you need to go back to Teresa and say, was this email saying that that's all the cost would be the cost of, so you know what you're dealing with? You know, because I would say the electric bill for that one room, if that's all that's in there, is probably going to be $40 a month.
Right. I don't think it'd be very
But
much.
the meter might cost us something.
No, they're going to put it in. Isn't that what she said?
Well, I don't have. I mean, that's what I don't know what her text said, but I think they're.
Is the room finished and ready to go for us, or what, do we got to spend the money to fix it, or what's the issues
Well,
there?
last time I was in there, it wasn't done yet, but there's not a whole lot to do in there. But I mean, I think it'd be our responsibility to hook up like a sink and stuff like that. I mean, that's the type of stuff that we got to have, and you can't just throw them in a corner and say, here you go. They have to have, I mean, they have dishes, they have refrigerators, they have stand-up refrigerators. And I put a lot of time and effort into it. I just want to make a decision if we're going to do it, let's do it. Either way, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to figure something out on it because I'm tired of dealing with it.
Well, I kind of want to know exactly what it's going to cost us. I guess that's my question. I want to know exactly where we're at before I make a decision without dollars and cents.
I had all those figures before.
John, we won't keep you up here while we're bickering.
No, if I can look at those bids, it will take me a little bit of time because it's not a bid for a project, it's a cost estimate, but it would take me, I would have to think a couple of weeks if that's something that I need to, in this process, bring back to you.
Okay. And then the roads, Everybody's, equipment, any major equipment down?
I don't know that we have any major equipment down. I do know that we have a mower that's down, and Harry was looking into maintenance on that. I think Harry mentioned he might even get with you about that, and have you give him your opinion on it. So,
Well, I drove the roads over the weekend and I've seen quite a few places that they've cleaned the ditches out and their thing's looking good as far as in the farm fields, they're putting the dirt back, back into the fields. It's,
and we do have, we did get one complaint this morning that Harry's going to look at, and it was new ditch work and the finish work on that. So I'm going to get on that in his area, but I know that they've been working on those, and
and I've seen
Good.
quite a few places.
All right. Thank you. So we don't have anybody until 10:05. Do we need any executive session for anything today? Besides when Morgan comes over, personnel.
Do we need some legal, Gary, on that bill we talked about the other day, or?
Let's see, I can't remember which one it is. I think is it the, oh, yeah, we probably should. I don't know if I remember to bring it or not, but you got copies.
I've got a copy.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably need a legal for,
We got till 10:05, so I will make a motion. We go into legal session till 10:05. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you pissed off at me? You might have been watching the video, you can see that. It was, I don't know. That's very good job.
Christie, come on up. Good morning.
Morning, Christy Schmitz, Register of Deeds. You guys hardly ever hear from me. Kind of stay in my little corner. I'm the county's filing cabinet. Been out over there 15 years now. Anyway, I just thought you'd like to have a little update on my office. After COVID, or during COVID, actually, we decided to go ahead and put our records online because the abstractors and attorneys were needing so much work and I couldn't keep up being locked down and everything. So that's when I decided to go ahead and open up the online subscriptions. Even though I didn't feel like we had that much of a product, but I guess we did. So I had a bill from my software provider, which is my maintenance from November 1st of this year to October 31st of next year for $10,000. It's $10,000 a year. And plus my $1,200 replication fee. And what that is every time we scan a document into the system, it automatically goes to a safe server. So it's a backup safe server elsewhere, like in Blue Springs or wherever they're at. And so the total bill was $11,200. And because of my online subscriptions, we got $4,106.25 off.
Well, good.
So I saved the county, $4,106 due to opening up our records online. So I thought you guys might like to hear about that. It's pretty
Who
exciting.
can subscribe to that? Look at your.
Just about anybody. What they need to do is they will go through and they have to, it's a monthly subscription. So like if Jim wanted to get on there and get a copy of his deed, he would pay the online subscription rate, which is, it's a pretty good fee. It would be a lot cheaper to just call the Register of Deeds and get a copy of your, but the title companies love it. Especially the ones that are like in Lewisburg and Kansas City.
Come down, they can just do it online.
Yes, and if they have any questions, they can always call. They know they can always call me and clarify any questions that they might have about certain documents. The other thing I wanted to let you know about, so from January 1st of this year to September 30th of this year, the Office of Register of Deeds has brought in $138,801. So that's a pretty good amount for recording fees.
So, Chrissy, and some people may not know it, but the system changed on how you took funds in from a few years ago, right? We charge by the page.
The fee schedule changed, yeah.
Then we went to by the page or something?
Yes. Well, the county or the state.
The state did, yeah. And
We've always paid by the page, but they raised that and they cut the mortgage tax.
Mortgage tax is all
Right.
gone now.
yeah. So how has that worked out for the county?
It's for us.
Is it a
as
wash?
This
Is it
size
good?
of a county, it's basically stable. It's gone from one, it's stayed pretty stable. So losing one and gaining the other, it's basically the same. But for the larger counties, it's not so much.
Okay.
And for the smaller counties, it's probably devastating. But let's see here. Oh, speaking of the software, I wanted to thank Chris for his swift response to my provider couldn't get on the line. I wanted to set up my system in Janet Clevenot's office so that she could have access to the records without, because it's easy, especially with tax sales and stuff, and with taxes coming out, it's easy to just get on whoever's computer in her office. And they couldn't get on any of my computers, so Chris got on there and got them all opened up so they can get on there and help us again. So I wanted to thank him for that. I have a couple things that don't really apply to my office. Well, in a way they do. It applies to everybody at the courthouse. The Meridocene Extension District has what they call the Extension Master Gardeners Plan. And there's several of them in Miami County. And what they did was they started in 2008 with the Miami County Courthouse, which was a plain building. Just a little plain building on the side like this. The Master Gardeners went into partnership with the Lions Club for funding. Didn't cost the county a thing. And they ended up, this is the final product here. They've got like arbors and flowers and the perennials and sidewalks and such. You can have that. So I was trying to contact, if it's okay with you guys, I've been trying to contact, I talked to Abby down here at our extension district and see about the extension master gardeners that are in Linn County. See if they'd be interested in doing something like that. Of course, it needs to be maintenance free because Danny doesn't like to mow around anything and all that, but what do you guys think about doing a little, you know, the weeding and the mowing can be a little bit tedious if you've got flowers and stuff, you know, so.
Yeah.
The only thing my concern is with my construction company, I work around the historic buildings like that. And sometimes, and ours isn't bringing enough tax credits or anything like that, but sometimes they do kind of throw a fit about, even on the landscaping, like messing up when it's on this is on the national one, I believe. Isn't it?
Yes, National Register.
Sometimes they'll throw a fit about that. It's something you might just check into.
Well, of course, we would have
Even
to.
on like
We would have to work with the National Register and to, you know, get permission and everything. But those nasty cedar bushes in front of the courthouse really need to be, something needs to be done with that.
hide the-
They're full of weeds and poison ivy and trees, and, you know, it's a mess. So anyway, what do you guys think about that? So another place where I'm sticking my nose where it probably doesn't belong is the bathroom floors in the basement. We talked about getting those done, and I think Danny had gone into a lot of pains to get some estimates and stuff to have that done, and nothing's been done. So I'd like to get that ball rolling again because it's really not, it's very embarrassing for people to come in and use the restrooms in the basement.
And it was actually
We just talked about that.
we talked about it, and we're getting a little more detail on it. I believe Sean was going to reach out and talk to him and try to get a few more details on it and see which route we wanted to go. So we have addressed it.
Okay.
So and as far as the garden, I don't have an issue with it. That was just something I want to throw out there. With sometimes the preservation
Of
companies can
course.
kind of really. I'd hate to see all that work happen and then.
I
they
like
come
to see
back.
the beautification of our grounds, and I'm really proud of the courthouse. I really love it a lot, and it would be nice to have some sort of landscaping. It's simple, you know, something simple. That's all. For years, the maintenance department has brought our mail, and with Danny in all other towns doing painting or whatever, not being around, sometimes the mail doesn't get picked up and brought to the courthouse, and I'd really like to have some sort of schedule, because Friday I had to run down there to the courthouse and get the mail because nobody had gotten it. It'd be nice if, you know, if we were informed that it wasn't coming, because the mail is very important to my office. And I'm sure it's very important to the treasurer's office also. And it's important to all of the offices. But without the mail, sometimes I don't have a lot of work to do.
Okay. We'll work on that with David and with Sean.
Which comes to another point. Interdepartmental correspondence or communication, period. I heard Mr. Sean refer to a piece of equipment that had been in storage as it appeared to be scrap, but I don't think he ever even saw it.
We owe you a cabinet, don't we?
Well, I don't think the county owes me a cabinet. I believe someone out of their personal pocket owes the county a pocket, because I had gone through a lot of pains to bring a very important file cabinet to Mound City from Sedgwick County, from the Wichita Register of Deeds. See, $100 is a lot to me. It may not be a lot to you guys, but $10 is a lot to me. And I saved a lot of money and went through a lot of trouble.
He's apologized.
I know. I don't need an apology, but what I need is interdepartmental communication. if there had been an email sent out to all of the department heads stating, do you have anything in storage? We're getting rid of it if you do. That would have been good. And, you know, we could have let him know, hey, I've got a piece of equipment over there. And it did not appear to be scrap. It was brand new. It had never been used. When I was told that, oh, I didn't know what it was, it would have been nice if someone had found out whose it was, then they could have told him what it was. And because I'm about ready for it, and they're not easy to find. I found a site in Spokane, Washington that has these cabinets. I don't know if that looks like scrap to you, but this is what it looked like. I couldn't find the exact picture of it of when I did get it. But we're going to have to get bids on it because you can't find prices online. And I just think that, you know, we went through this period of supervision and leadership, and I think that it would be really nice if we get some sort of interdepartmental communication, lines of communication, so that the offices are talking to each other. And this wouldn't happen.
I apologize that happened. I don't think he intentionally did it. I don't know the whole backstory, but we are working on that. We are, pretty much rebuilding the entire county the way it needs to be done. So one step at a time, and we're trying. We really are. So it takes time, and I'm sorry that happened.
Okay. Any more questions for my office? You probably won't hear from me until budget time.
You got your reviews to do.
I've done mine. I did mine the 1st of September.
Good
I've
for
already
you.
got hers.
Thank you. Is there a way to improve that process while you're here? Your thoughts?
Interdepartmental?
No? The reviews, is there a better form, different way to do it?
I don't know. It's fine. As you guys all know, I lost an employee. So I do have a position open if you know anybody that wants a part-time job.
Okay. Thank you. Jennifer?
Jennifer and Jim, actually. Good morning, Commissioners. I just kind of wanted to give you an update on what we're doing and trying to get accomplished. As you know from the economic development meeting that I attended, that people are screaming for fiber internet, and we're trying to get that accomplished. But as I've said, we're not a nonprofit organization. And so we are trying to get to Parker. We are working right now on, we have been given a project of there needs to be a tower in between Parker and Lacine, and we are putting that, which will get us closer to Parker. But as Jim will explain to you, he'll kind of explain the process, but we're going to need a lot of easement or permits. And so that's what he's going to talk about.
Yeah, that's what we're just trying to figure out, filling out the application for the permits, because it is a 5.5 mile job, and how many road crossings that we're possibly going through, and it'll all be direct buried. And we're just trying to figure out, it's not as easy as just going to one house. We're going, like I say, 5.5 miles, and that will get us within 2 miles of Parker for later down the road. So really, that's mainly what we're asking, is just see how much we need to do for the permit.
What about your tower? Don't they need a CUP on that?
I would expect they will, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not putting in the tower. We're just taking our fiber optics to the tower.
Okay.
So that tower they'll have to provide their own. But I didn't know if you guys offered any type of, I don't want to say release from, but if there's any assistance as far as easements. I think there's a limit of 1,500 per year, and it'll take us this year and some of next year to probably get And I am working with Jessica Hightower on, she has applied, I believe, for some art money that I had asked her if she had applied for, and I don't think the county had. And so if we can get some art money, then because they won't give it the money to us, they give the money to you, or they give the money to the states, and then we have to request on our behalf, and that's how we get assistance to get over to Parker. So that's what we're working on also.
With, when that pipeline came through the county, we did a kind of a blanket set of fees for the easement. Now, we still had to know where every crossing was.
Sure.
Where every line was in the right of way.
Sure.
But we did kind of a blanket set of fees that covered the whole project so that they weren't having to run back in here with a $500 check every
Right.
day or two.
Is that what you're looking for?
Absolutely.
And you may also think about, if you want to be supportive of this project, and this is just me talking now,
I can tell.
but
Well, can we start from the beginning? I'm lost. Can we start from the beginning of how this all even works and how we got to this point? And I mean,
well, on
the internet, period. Because I thought that there was certain areas that
there's this big thing called the internet.
So I think I can. So as far as right now, there's going to be a lot of money that are going to start coming down the pipes. As far as you have places in your county that aren't underserved, they're actually unserved.
This grant money that you were talking about earlier today is the money that's supposed to help with this. That's what I was getting ready to say, is that this ARPA money that we get, 900,000 this year and 900,000 next year.
Don't be telling Jennifer. So that's
Oh, I know.
That's public record.
Yeah.
that goes towards your construction costs.
So that goes through.
It could be. You could give them grants to help, or what I was going to say is your grants may cover at least the fees.
Right.
How will this work? It's going to be buried cable to this tower, then it'll be satellite from there?
So we'll go to each house. We'll actually take fiber to the home. So those people that we can get along our route, that we will go to them and try to pick up. Because see, in Lacine, that's our regulatory area. So that is our ILEC. And when you're outside of it, you don't receive any type of funding. So we're just putting our dollars forward. That's why a lot of these grants are coming about is, it wouldn't be one of those things that maybe we stopped at Parker, but you go on towards Blue Mound and some of there in your county, a lot of your county is served, but some of your county is not. And nobody wants to go do that because you're going to, those of you that work in construction, you're going to put this in the ground and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, but you're only going to possibly pick up 120 rooftops. So it's not like it's going to be a money maker, but that's why we got to have those grants so we can at least get that fiber to them because of the.
Why are you getting to the tower, I guess is my question.
Why?
We have a company that requested our service all the way
To the tower?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, along that route, that gets us within 2.5 miles of the town of Parker itself, which we'll set somewhere along that route. We'll set a hut, and then we'll be able to go straight into the town of Parker itself. And what we would do, because we do fiber to the home. We don't do wireless, anything that has to do with the weather. Ours is directly to your house.
Now, how close the house have to be on this route to pick that house up?
Well, we're going to spider out as much as we can. So along our route, I think we have 15 houses just on that short route that we're going to do right now. And then those, as we go on in, we'll spider out as much as it builds out. I've also I haven't met with, but we've had several calls and emails with the city of Parker because also your cities receive funding also. So I'm trying to get with them to say, you did receive this funding. It can only be used for these amount of projects. And that, like that lady said, she goes, I knew I got it, but I didn't know what I could use it for. And I said, well, that's where I'm here to help you. I know exactly where you can use it. So
How many miles did you say this was?
5.5.
So you'll just have drops intermittently around here
Yeah,
when
I
you
know.
spider off.
Right now, yes.
So
Yeah.
the reason it's not done is because it's so spread out that it's not worth.
So that's why any other company hasn't gone in there, is because, so in our Lacine area, Linn Valley, Tanglewood, we are regulated, so we get funding for that. But anytime you go outside of your area, you don't get funding. So recently, we went into Lewisburg and we put in a huge project up there at Lewisburg. And in approximately 4 years, we've almost doubled our lines of service. And so now with all this money coming down, that money has to be used for underserved or unserved areas. It can't be used for instance, somebody couldn't come down here and build over Crockhand or whatever, or CenturyLink, because that's not an underserved area. So it has to be specifically used for underserved or unserved areas. And Blue Mound, Parker, all of that long in there is very unserved.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
A line that runs on one side of the road and there's a house on the other, so literally directly across. And the provider and things saying they wouldn't go underneath the road to that house. They said they had to go all the way across. So the line's right there, but they won't hook his house up because he's on the opposite side of the road as the line.
Okay.
Is that how you guys do it too?
Well, there's a couple things. It depends on if he's on the regulated side and the other person's on the non-regulated side.
Like what you're talking about, that's the boundary between two separate companies.
So they won't work,
we can't-
not coming together. You can't just go like, well,
You're right. Exactly. Now, what we can do, since now we do called this D-ball, or we have these customers like we do in Lewisburg, we can't give them dial tone, but we can shoot across the road and just give them internet.
And then, of course, we have to have permits every time we go under the road. And we run into a lot of trouble with the pipeline. The pipeline's been a big, up there in Lewisburg. You can't play around with them. They won't let you in their easements. I mean, so when you say, they did a blanket easement for the pipeline is a multi-million-dollar company. So we would suggest maybe you do a T-towel for us instead of a blanket, because we're just a little bit smaller of a company. So just something we'd like to see if you guys would be interested. I mean, the reason we want to get it over there is you do have a school there, and you do have, when COVID hit and that type of thing, they ran into some difficulty with kids trying to homeschool and Zoom calls and people working from home. And so,
when do you think you'll be going into Parker? I mean, after this part's said and done.
well, that depends on how that ARPA money comes in. We really want to go there, but as far as it being a financial moneymaker for us, unless we can get some help, and there's no reason why we can't. If the rules and legislation, everything else, follow the guidelines that the way the money's supposed to be given, there should be no reason. We hope to be done with this tower at the end of October, November, 1st of November.
Get started in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're doing all the preliminary work now. We have multiple projects going on right now, but then that would just leave us 2 miles we need to get. So, if you guys get the ARPA money, and some of that could go towards that, and then we can get some money from Parker, we could get it up and going.
So is going into Parker, is CenturyLink or any of those have any rights to anything there?
We could go over top of them just with our internet.
Okay.
Without.
Okay.
And the problem of it is with CenturyLink is because it's not a financial moneymaker for them, they've already maxed out. They're not upgrading their plant or doing anything like that. So you have somebody sitting out there that needs internet, that has their phone line, and they're like, sorry, we can't give you internet, or the most we can give you is like dial up. And that doesn't allow them to do Zoom calls or work from home or anything like that. And so they've chose not to invest their plant, which leaves more rural companies like us to go in and pick up the pieces. So,
Gary, just picking a specific company and going to give them the grants or whatever, the money to do what they need to do it's not going to come back and bite us.
I don't think so, because there's nobody else that's wanting to hit that area. We may talk with our grant administrators who are going to help us to find out how we go about setting up an application process for companies to apply. And as long as we're not putting them in a position where they're going to overlap, I think, and as long as we stay within the boundaries of the money we've got available, I think we're fine.
No liability to us for being involved with
no, because actually that grant money that's coming down, in all actuality, it would be better if, I mean, they're giving it to the cities, they're giving it to the counties, they're giving it to the states. But then you guys have to work so it comes like a group project. But is all you're saying is, hey, we received this money, here's the receipts of what they used it for, and then that kind of cuts you out of the deal. Because to say it's really not your money, it's money that if you don't use it for the project that it's assigned for, you have to send the money back.
We're just a conduit for it. That's really. But I think we need to get with our grant administrators, ask them about application procedures.
Because they may not say that it doesn't make sense for them to be until they find out they can get some free money out of it.
Their application here for burial permits now too, so.
Okay.
And we need to get.
So that was the main thing that we're here for today, is just the cost of permits that, to undergo that project with where we're going now, plus going into Parker. If we could come up with some type of, I don't know, a reduction or something like that.
Well, like I said, what we did was a project permit as
Okay.
opposed to a item by item permit. And certainly there's,
Coming out of the grant, we can use that?
I think so. I think we'll have to figure out how, but I think it can, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And you want to proceed right now though, right?
Well, I think they just need a commitment from you that we're not going to charge them these permits at this time. We want everything submitted,
Absolutely.
but we're not going to charge
Is
any.
everything submitted that you need?
I've got it, the form filled out. I just don't know
Yeah, just leave
what the prices are gonna be.
just leave the fees blank. My suggestion is leave the fees blank with the understanding that if we can work it out to cover the fees through the grant,
Okay.
Basically,
We'll do
you'll be
that.
crossing our road 5 times
Right.
unless you switch sides of the road. Right?
Jennifer, you can just write that check from your account and then we won't cash it, okay?
I think I've already wrote you guys a check and it was a big one. No, I'm teasing. And I do love my house, by the way.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we grant them a project, what we got, permit
project permit would be
with no fees due at this time until we can work out details on how to obtain that from the grant money.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Gosh, these commissioners meetings are great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So say
You
there's
have any
like,
more questions? Yeah.
say you guys are here and Crawl Can's here and there's a space in between that no one has internet.
This is really his house he's talking about.
Yeah.
So say there's an empty space, but it's occupied by Crawl Can. You guys can't just make a deal with Crawl Can and go in there even though they're not utilizing it?
Sometimes we can work with other small companies like Crawl Can. I mean, we'll work hand in hand with them to make sure that somebody gets service. We do not do that with CenturyLink, obviously. I mean, just because they're a pain in the ass, but we do have a good working relationship with Crawl Can. If you could send me your information where you're at.
Oh, it was just
And another thing is it also comes down to the fact of, it's the amount of what it costs to get to you. So, if I'm speaking out of turn here, let me know.
people like that really want internet and say they have millions of dollars and they say, hey, we'll those.
Absolutely. I'm doing it right now. I have 2 customers that are outside of our area that need service and they're going to pay what it costs to get it to them because I'm not going to get we're not going to get any recovery. So they're going to pay the construction costs to get it to them to have our internet. Because that's how bad somebody who works from home, as a few of your people sitting right here that you're commissioners with, they have to be able to work from home. And if they can't exist.
Very good service, by the way, too.
And so, people will pay for it. And so if you have somebody and they're willing to pay what it would cost, but I want to say with our construction costs, you're looking at, it's $24,000 a mile on an average.
What determines where you put your drops? Because I know there's times you go right by houses like Crawl Can has out here, and then it takes so far.
If people signed up when they were coming by,
That's what it took.
that's what it took. That's the same thing for us in Lewisburg. We'll
Do
go
your
down
surveys,
the street. Oh, sorry. We'll go down the street and we give them plenty of heads up. We put up flyers, board hangers. Say, hey, if you want a free drop,
Sign up during this time.
sign up during this time and we'll get you taken.
Always do those
And
things.
it never fails. 2 weeks later, a guy will come in and he'll say, I want to sign up for service. Well, now you have the drop fee. Well, why do I have to drop it? Because we gave you a timeline, because we've already moved our construction crews out of that area. Now we have to bring a construction crew back to put your drop in, if you would have done it during that timeline. So that's what leaves it open, because why put a drop there if you're not ever gonna be able to recover revenue, or you don't know when you'll be able to cover revenue on
Gotcha. Anything else?
that? COVID was bad for a lot of people, but for us,
Very
you know,
good.
You guys got rich off of it, right?
No, we didn't get rid of it. We just had a lot more things to file to get, anything.
Well, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
They just need to send that on in to Sean then.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
School nurse.
Morning, gentlemen. Thank you guys for seeing me.
Danny spent part of his life in the school nurse.
Hello.
Sure.
The best 5 years of his life.
Right.
In 7th grade.
Grade school is the hardest 12 years of your life.
It was.
It really was. No kidding, that's no joke.
Made me cry. Let's not talk about it. All right. Just say your name for the record, please.
Lacey Ernest, I'm the school nurse, district nurse for Jay. And so what I'm bringing you today, this is the current order that is in place for the county that was put in place by Robin Spencer before she left. So basically what that order is giving us is that we test once a week at school. Pleasanton is currently following this order. Jayhawk and Prairie View had applied for a grant through KDHE that they would actually supply our supplies for us, give us extra funding money, that kind of thing. Well, however, we found out last week that in order to keep that grant, you have to test students every day, which we tried to do that at the beginning of school, and we were doing like 200 and some students a day. It's not feasible, and you cannot keep up with those kind of numbers. And no parents really liked it. No one was very happy about their child having to get tested. So Robin put this in place for the county. However, now KDHE is saying we cannot use their supplies, we can't use any of their stuff if we're not going to follow their rules. So what Pleasanton and us kind of decided, we talked to on Friday. I talked with their school nurse, and they are fine with keeping it like this if we would like to keep it like this. The issue is that the county health department's gonna have to give us the supplies in order to be able to do this.
Which are the rapid tests?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it, just the rapid test. And then we have to be able to use the PA number for the health department, which they already have, and we have to be able to have a platform to enter the results into. But it would not mean, the testing would not come from the health department, it would come from the school nurses who would technically, and I don't know how we work this out, but we have to be employed by the level to be able to do it at the school.
Isn't that kind of how it works already anyway?
Well, that's what Pleasanton is doing.
Okay, just Pleasanton then.
Yeah, and we have been using the KP, with that, their money, but we don't get tested every day.
Right.
And no one wants to get tested every day.
So how much are the rapid test? Is it per stick or something, or do you know?
I have no idea.
Well, the one that we paid for, wasn't it like $6 for the rapid test per kid?
I don't think we're talking about that machine.
No.
No, I'm saying the test we had for the quick test, we voted to buy like 5,000.
Yeah,
or so, and it took
we're
like-
okay with the supplies. I talked to Tisha for
Yeah.
now.
Okay, and so the suppliers.
Yeah, and Prairie View's going to continue on the way they originally did it. They're doing it. I talked to the superintendent on Friday about it.
They're gonna run through the KP.
Pleasanton was okay because they didn't take a grant, I understand.
Yes.
And are you going to have to give your grant up? You pay it back or
So
whatever?
you don't have to pay it back,
Okay.
but you just let, you kind of say, we're not gonna go on this platform. We're gonna follow our county platform at
Okay.
this point in time. We just have to have something to follow, basically. And
And the county platform is, explain what it is.
Right here.
so that basically says that once a week, depending on if you're exposed. So if you test positive, you go home for 10 days. If you're exposed, you can come to school still. You have to wear a mask. And then once a week during that week, you have to get tested. Sports have been getting tested once a week as well on the day of their activity. That's what Jayhawk has been doing. Like, so, you know, on Mondays, it's JV football. Tuesdays, it's varsity volleyball, you know, that kind of thing. And then we just, whoever plays that week, we test. And I believe Pleasanton has been doing the similar thing. And for our classrooms, like when we have a classroom exposure, you know, that whole classroom will be masked. And then in 5 days, you know, whenever the 10 days window comes up, the whole class gets tested, just a one-time thing. I do have a meeting with KDHE this afternoon because they would still like to be able to provide some testing supplies. So, I mean, we may not be out a whole bunch, but we have to see kind of what they're going to offer there too. So,
And the reason you're coming to us is because KDHE says you're not complying with the grant.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So who would enforce this stuff if, like, say somebody didn't want to quarantine? I mean, who does that go back on us commissioners or?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the health department. Yeah. So
So don't make that happen.
do my best.
We don't have a health department right now.
Yeah, I don't.
You're the health department, so that's the reason. So
So what do you need from them today?
just that we're going to keep this order in place. That, and the other concern that Pleasanton and I talked about is that since Robin is no longer employed, do we have a physician that has signed off on this order, you know, saying that we can do them in the schools? That's our other concern. I know.
We have a consulting physician
Okay.
through CCHC,
CC.
whatever.
You're as bad as me.
But they don't sign the deals, do they?
They don't sign off on the deals.
They just tell us if we should sign it or shouldn't.
They tell us if we're
We're in
making
violation.
mistakes.
And Rick's are.
But under the statute, if we don't have a health officer, the chairman of the board is the health officer.
That's how desperate Linn County is right now.
And you are the band that can make that happen then. So basically, we just have to have you sign off then that says this
Yeah,
is
we
what we
just
will
gonna
follow.
make sure we'll have them look at it.
Okay.
So say there's a parent that doesn't want any of this to happen. How do we enforce that? If this ain't a statute, isn't a law, how does that work?
So right now, like they have an option at school. If you don't want to get tested, you go home for 10 days.
Yeah.
Those are your
That's the.
And Prairie View is testing every day, just like you guys started. and
Yeah,
continue.
because they have already taken their money.
Okay.
So, because they were very much on board about just staying like we were. And then once they realized on Friday that they had already taken their money, they are going to have to go back to everyday testing.
Right. Okay. So yes, we probably will. We're just gonna have CHC look at it, say it's,
I think we need to, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So we'll get back with you this week on it.
perfect.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming in. We have any interviews or not?
Yeah, they backed out on us for today, so no, we don't.
I've got something I need you to sign. The county attorneys are in that building uptown, that building's sold to somebody new, and so we just need to sign a replacement lease. It's identical to the other one. It's just a matter of we got a different landlord now. And so I think he's already signed it. I just,
For how long? How much longer are we having that?
we have the building until July, and then if we need it longer, we can take it month to month. But I think, our best predictions is we should be in that building sometime next summer, so.
Hey, Sean, can you get us in the old legal building over there? Yes. You have keys to it now?
What are you thinking? Are you thinking beneficial to move them back over here and then move them in there, or just
No,
keep them
just
where
leave them
they're at?
there.
And then just get a
They're
plan,
all set. Just
just
leave
get a
it.
plan for what we want to do over there.
Well, let's go make a plan.
Let's do it. I want to make a plan.
So you need a motion to
Just need a
continue
motion
on?
to sign that lease.
I'll make a motion that we.
Here, let him look at it.
Yeah, look at it.
Jim, look at it.
I'm tired. I didn't sleep one bit last night.
Go ahead, make your motion. Continue on with the lease.
I'll make a motion that we continue on with the lease agreement with our county attorney's office up here on Main Street. Do I need to say his name or anything, Gary? No. As it
It's identical lease, new landlord.
We're just new landlord. We're continuing on.
That's your motion?
Yeah.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Do you need executive time? Well, there is no later.
I thought he did it.
How much time do you need and what do you need it for? Personnel?
He does, doesn't he?
I can't hear you. But he does this is the new buyer.
I think that'd be plenty for, we got,
Starting
and then
out, he was gonna be willing to-
Sean was gonna have Johnny Taylor come back in, I think.
So he's the one.
Is he around?
The other guy, I'm gonna sign the first lease.
Well,
Now this.
hey, have him come over.
So,
Okay. Makes, I knew I knew that name. Did we get that figured out? Did that motion go through?
Yeah.
I probably should scan a copy of that signed lease in before it gets away.
yeah, if you would, and then maybe you can just email me a copy and email him a copy.
You're the owner of the building?
Yeah.
It's just a funny name.
This is not a signed one.
That's the one
I
you
thought
gave
he-
me.
I thought he signed that. Maybe I gave you the wrong one. Or maybe I left it on my computer. Well, did you sign it?
No, that's what, Rick didn't sign this.
No, I didn't.
Oh, we need to, I thought you just voted to sign it.
I am.
Next week.
Any executive session besides 20 minutes for personnel? We want to continue on with that. 10 more minutes of legal for healthcare center. You got your person? Is he around?
I just seen him walk by.
Tony Taylor, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. How you doing?
Doing good this morning.
So just brief us on what you know and what you're doing in your noxious weed department.
Well, this morning, got my new Bible given to me. I'll be doing a lot of research and studying on, and so I can get these certifications that are needed to perform these duties. I've been over to the office this morning and just kind of getting familiar with things and with the equipment, and met with Carl this morning and kind of got briefed with him of where he's at and where things are. And he voiced some of the same concerns that I know everybody has with this department right now, and that just with a lot of turnover and things like that, that he just kind of wants the same things that I think everybody does, is some continuity, longevity. That's what I hope to bring. I know that's one of the things I mentioned to both Sean and Morgan when I interviewed, is what I lack in the knowledge that I know I'm going to have to obtain to get these certifications. I want to make up for with the desire to be in this position for a time, bring some longevity to it, learn the ins and outs. I did some research before doing my interview, just online, looking at the Kansas.gov website about directors' responsibilities and so on. And it's a lot of responsibility. You enforcing these state laws that are very important, can be punishable by large fines and jail time and stuff. So you're dealing with the public, dealing with my immediate supervisor, dealing with you gentlemen. So there's a lot to balance there, and I know I got a big challenge ahead of me, but I'm hoping to get that done.
And cost shares is probably one of your first things you probably should attempt to learn, because
Right. And Sean has mentioned that to me already this morning, and going to have me with somebody that's going to help me get that down. And
remember you mentioned violations of orders of people. We're the biggest violators, so the county is. So before you go out picking on the innocent citizens,
right,
residents, remember the county is terrible at it.
Right.
So just don't don't necessarily, I won't say not focus on it, but we got to take care of our house first
Sure, exactly.
before we start picking on something. Lots of schools and classes to go to.
Yep.
And the association itself is a very good place to find out information on if you ask them. If you don't ask them, of course, you won't get anything. And I think we're still falling under Miami counties. So that individual up there has been very helpful. Actually came down for a day or so.
Right.
And helped the last one out.
That's what Carl mentioned. I think Daryl's his name, said that he's been real good.
Yeah.
Knowledgeable about it.
So
And I'm hoping, I think Sean told me that we're working out to get to go and kind of shadow with those guys, him and some other counties,
Good.
which I think will be really helpful for me to not just see the reading the stuff, but see it applied in the field and how you handle, doing the jobs.
Yeah, sure.
Communications with the mowers, we talked about this too, because if you're out spraying and then the next day somebody goes mows right where you sprayed, that's kind of defeating our purpose.
Right. And that was one of the things brought up my last day over. I've been working at the Lacey barn up there with Mike Nation as my foreman, and that's what I asked him. End of the day, we'll gather there to clock out, and I said, any advice for me? And that was one of the things he talked about, just communicating with the other foreman, and just what you just mentioned, exactly specifically mentioned what you just said. Said, we're out mowing all the time, so just communicate with us, and we'll pass that on to the guys mowing. And
There's actually a system that you can enter it in as well. So
right,
everybody will know what you did.
Yep.
And everybody will know. You still want to communicate with them,
Sure.
but put it in that way we can see that we map these roads out. That he was on this road in September, or he was on this road in March,
right,
and especially around the bridges and all that stuff. Okay. But you got anything for him?
Yeah. Do you understand kind of our expectations are of how we're wanting to rebuild this section, whatever you want to call it?
Right. This department.
Yeah. Do you understand kind of like what we're wanting out of you? As far as moving.
I am open.
and
That's
everything.
that's one of my goals is to be, and that was one of the other things I told him I thought that I would work real well on is communicating. You guys tell me, you guys, the public, what everybody expects, and I'll try to balance that. And
I think that'll be your biggest obstacle, really, because you're going to have to, be talking to Harry and Mike a lot, because you guys are going to be sharing guys, and just to be, get what done, what we need to. So
sure.
I just want to be sure that you understand kind of what what we're asking of you to pretty much rebuild the entire deal and do it to the best of your ability and make it work. So we're putting a lot on you.
Yeah, there is a lot. I agree with that. And it can be accomplished. Like, I caught Jim on the way in this morning. That's what I talked about was, just communicating with everybody, being on the same page, working. We talked about, the cross training acts. Since I've been working since May, obviously I didn't have my CDL yet, so I was mowing, but also helped with the asphalt crew. I got to work with traffic control, watching the asphalt process, how that goes. Todd always is open to show people how things work, the equipment, because you can always fill in somewhere else. If we're not doing something with the weed department and someone needs some mowing or this done or that done.
Like that around bridges, there's brush and things, we can use the sign department
Yeah.
truck to cut brush. There's a lot of.
Get with Kevin on that stuff. But
Beyond just communicating, I think, what I expect out of you is to kind of build a structure here for, to follow. That's kind of what, I'm expecting, and hopefully it all works and go from there. So hopefully that's not too much for you, but
We're 0 for 5, so you're our hope.
I'll give it a shot. And like I said, that's one thing I enjoy feedback from you guys, my supervisor, because that to me, that's the only way to fulfill expectations that people have is to know what they are. Not that you always are agreeable with 100% with everything, or you can always fulfill everything, but at least if there's communication and expectations, then that's how you can make people happy.
Appreciate it. You got anything?
what's our next step and what we got going on there, Sean? I know we talked about moving the mowers and stuff over to that building. Are we still, do we have anything on that, dates?
We don't have dates or a definitive plan or anything. We need to look at the programs, the mapping program that you talked about, the STAR program, familiarize with the equipment. We're going to have to set up timelines to meet with those other weed directors while we're studying. And also timelines to meet with the individual that set the truck up so that we can get some individualized training, because the truck is going to take some knowledge of its operation as well. And they volunteered to, if we send somebody out with it, to go ahead and show them how to use that. So as far as the move and organizing that, I'm going to have to meet with the shops, find out what we've got in those areas, and do that while he's taking these steps.
Right, right. And I know, you know, that's most important is continue to spray and getting to that point. And, you know, I just want to be sure that we're, you know, moving forward in it. So that's really all. So.
And you know as well, Carl's got a secondary responsibility, and that's to the landfill. That's part of why he was hired. I mean, putting two part-time jobs together and making a full-time job. So he's got a wintertime responsibility to the landfill. And you just got to determine between you and Al what that date is going to be. And then when you're going to give him back in the spring. Doesn't mean he can't still do his training, but
Is it
between those times and those
we're gonna
times.
Continue to have him there?
What's that?
We're going to continue to have him there as a part-time?
Well, he's a full-time guy.
Well, I know, but I know we had talked about it, and that's what I want to know is I don't feel like we have a plan together on what exactly we want to do.
He's got to do his thing,
No, I understand.
but I mean, he doesn't work at the landfill.
I understand that. We're 0-5 for a reason, I believe. I mean, I think we got to put a little more time and effort into this rather than just saying, go do it.
If you'd like, by next week, I can bring in a
I know you
pseudo.
got a lot going on. I'm not trying to put a lot on your plate.
No, I can bring in a pseudo agenda, and I can just bring it in and drop it off to you next week. So
Last thing I want to do is just put 100 things on.
Even if it's
you know.
part-time, we can communicate and share him back and forth throughout the year. If
Yeah.
him and Al will communicate down the road that you need him for 2 weeks or, or.
But you're not going to probably need him in the wintertime.
Right. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
I just don't want you to be overwhelmed with everything, Johnny. If you have any questions, I mean, you know, we're big on the chain of command here, and you're always welcome to, you know, talk to me. And I probably can't answer your questions, but Sean probably could do a little better than I could. So, but I'm here to anytime you need to come up with a cell phone number. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're needing some more legal time also.
10 minutes and 20 minutes for personnel from what I got so far, right?
That's where I was on it, so.
You need anything any other time? Anybody? So I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for 20 minutes for personnel and then 10 minutes for legal, a total of 30 minutes. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye.
You
Can you-
guys,
okay, I got a letter.
I'm not, this is Danny, Commissioner Minus Health Department.
We're gonna continue on with the executive session for 10 more minutes with legal. That's my motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Need some ibuprofen.
All right.
I'm done.
Okay, I hear you. Nothing from those executive sessions at all to report. Has you got anything else, Danny?
I mean, there's been
I'm gonna go over and look at the old lawyer's office. See what we can do with that.
just want to do go all over there together.
I'll go if anybody wants to go.
Let's do it.
Can't adjourn.
So you're
Outvoted
going, so
2-1.
you're going to,
Recess?
you're gonna recess, move your meeting over there and adjourn from there.
There you go.
And you're not gonna do any business over there. You're just gonna,
We might need our attorney.
What we
You're trying to get out of. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
We're not,
just-
we're not doing any business over there. We're just gonna look at the building. If you want to go,
I'll go.
let's go.
So you want to just, a motion to recess to look at that building and then adjourn?
Yes,
Be done with minutes at this?
yes. That's my motion.
second.
Moved and second, all in favor? All right.
So if I have anything else, I'll do it until next week.
Yep.
I tried. Tuesday. On that occasion, which let me turn these off.
Did homework?